I have worked incredibly hard in my own life to become an ally to queer folk, an ally to people of color. My own research is on whiteness and the performance of whiteness and privilege, so this is stuff that I think about 24 hours a day. So to me, I try and model in my classes a space where talking about race, gender, politics, and all of these kinds of taboo subjects in American culture that everyone gets so uptight about, I talk about them front and center, relentlessly, all the time. So I think what that does is encourage students to come and talk to me. I know it does. I have students of color who come to me and tell me that I am the only professor that they have ever had, and this saddens me, I wish I wasn't the only one, who has ever made it a point to talk about race in the classroom, right? Or to address issues that matter to them in a way that matters to them, right? I take students on a study abroad course. I have students of color say to me, my goodness, this has just changed my life. I've never been to a place where everybody looks like me, right? And then I have white students who come to me and say, I'm struggling so hard. I don't know how to be an ally. I don't know what to do. I'm so nervous about things. I feel awkward, right? And those are often students who come to me privately and personally because there's a lot of shame in whiteness at the moment, right? But when I teach about what I share, what I wrote my book about, and I say, this is what I'm talking about, and look, I'm going to talk about it. I'm a white South African. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about it, right? It gives them an entry point. They have a place where they go, oh, she gets it. She can actually talk to me. So for me, I think it's because I model a certain kind of candid discussion about these topics, and that I model for them how hard it is. So I had a very, very difficult conversation on the day of the election. It was the hardest thing I've ever done in my life, and it was also the best teaching moment of my life. And I modeled for them, I don't know that I was actually thinking that I was modeling, I just did it instinctively, but how hard it was. I said, my pulse. I said, I'm sweating. I am so nervous. The back of my throat is tight. I feel like I'm going to cry at any minute now because this matters so much to me and I need to tell you why it matters, right? So what I'm doing is I'm showing them how hard it is to have these conversations about politics and race and gender and power dynamics and oppression and political correctness and how to even say the things in the right way without feeling like a fool, right? So I think it's both an intellectual approach, but it's also a deeply empathetic and emotional approach. And I think one of the hardest things, and I know that it is something that my colleagues and I talk about all the time, that is one of the heaviest stressors, I guess, for many academics and teachers, is how do you create a safe space for people of color and white students simultaneously in a predominantly white institution like UMass? So I had a student in this class actually say to me, I have an asshole question, he said. And I said, well, shoot, asshole, right? So I mean, so I'm doing it in this playful way, and he says, well, you know, it seems to me like, why do we worry so much about stereotypes? I mean, really, can't we just get on with that? And I said, you know, that would be fine if it was a zero-sum game, darling. But the reality is there's been such a history, and, you know, I gave him the background. And so he sat down and he said, and he said, wow, thank you, I hadn't thought about that. Yes, that's a really good point. And he said, I'm sorry for asking an asshole question. I said, it wasn't an asshole question. It was a real, genuine question that you were brave enough to ask. And that's what I want to encourage. So even when people come up with what, you know, could be deemed as, you know, problematic or, I don't know, different politics or whatever it is, to me it's about bringing that person in and making sure that they're still in the room, even while you may be gently suggesting that they look at something in a different way. And I have to tell you, that did not happen for me overnight. That has been my own life journey. I think sometimes people come and say, you know, the teamwork thing was the best part about this. It was something that made me go out of my comfort zone and maybe really acutely aware of the fact that I take up a lot of space, right? A lot of white students come and say, wow, I suddenly became very aware of my whiteness. You know, and then I have students of color who say, wow, thank you for making a space for me in a class where I felt where it wasn't that I'm not just an afterthought, but that I am central to this as well. That my story and what I have to contribute is just as valid And we use safe space in theater in a very particular way. What it means to have a safe space for us is a space in which this kind of discourse and where difference and all of these kinds of things can happen, and can happen without fear of retribution or ugliness or those things. It doesn't mean it's taking away the difficulty of that. That, yeah, it's damn hard to do that, but that's what the safe space is about. A safe space is not about shellacking everything and making it all palatable so that you don't have to think differently. And I sometimes have a lot of students who, come in and have this resistance to what I'm doing, and I say to them, if what you want to do is come into college with a set of assumptions and leave with the same set of assumptions, then you are wasting an enormous amount of money. That's not what college is about. I don't believe that that's what the university is for. So, that's part of it. It's like you have to be exposed to other ideas, and you don't always have to agree with them. I might not convince you, right? I might not convince you, and that's okay too.